I'm joined by Ole Dammegard, who is behind a website called lightonconspiracies.com, but he's also behind a lot more than that. The man is a former journalist, an artist. Well, I'll let him introduce himself and describe his background. But he also has a new book called The Coup d'etat in Slow Motion, and we'll be talking about that in a little while. Ole, thank you for joining me.
It's my absolute pleasure, Alan.
Great to have you along. So, lightonconspiracies.com goes into a lot of detail, but what I'd like to do is ask you, who are you? Who is Ole? How did you get to where you are today?
Well, my body was born in Denmark many years ago, and I grew up partly in Denmark, and then when I was 8, we emigrated to Sweden, where I grew up, and then after that I've been moving around. I lived in England for a while, Iceland, now in Spain since the year 2000. And the reason why we moved to Spain was that for many, many years, I had been looking into many of the major conspiracies. One of them, the assassination of the Swedish Prime Minister, Olof Palme. And there's one common thread when it comes to these type of events, is that if you start digging for the real truth behind them, and you keep digging and you keep really deep, the power behind these different terror acts have a way of hitting back, and very violently. And I had 2 friends. I lost 2 friends who died in mysterious ways, and I also had a visit. So I just felt if I want to not become part of the statistics, I need to leave this country. So that's one of the major reasons we left Sweden and moved here to Spain. But you ask about my background. I grew up in a family that was very much involved in the resistance movement during the Second World War, when Denmark was occupied by the Nazi terror regime. And so I was brought up with lots of stories. You know, my granddad was in jail for helping the Jews escape. My dad was involved in the resistance movement. My grandmother's sister was smuggling weapons for the resistance movement in a baby cot, and so on. Mm-hmm. So I grew up with all of these stories, really amplifying the feeling that even though the odds are totally against you, you have to stand up for what is true and what is right. It doesn't matter what everybody else says. If you know in your heart what is the right thing to do, even though it's scary, you have to do it. And this is what I've been trying to do for most of my life, is to uncover different major lies that has been fed us, and trying to reveal what is actually going on. And for me, it started, like you said, I used to be a journalist. I've been active in many, many different areas. If people go to my website, you can check the biography. And I've been, like I say, in different, I'm an award-winning artist, author, inventor, musician, all of these things. And in every area that I've been into, I've been devoting myself totally. So I'm not a bullshitter. I really try to go to the bottom of things, or skills, or whatever it is, to try and perfect them. And in the early 1980s, that was the first time I saw the so-called Zapruder film. It's a film that a bystander filmed the whole assassination of the American president John F. Kennedy. And in that film, it's an amateur film, but in that film, it shows very, very clearly that Kennedy, the last shot that hit him, came from the front and to the right. And the official story that we've been pumped to this very day, from the 1963 until this very day, is that the shooter was a lone crazy guy, and he was sat in a building behind and to the right, meaning that the two stories totally collides. Mm-hmm. And that the story, it's very clear that this version that we're being pumped with is an absolute lie. So that got me started into a long, 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 long road of trying to find out what actually happened. And I think I read in total maybe a couple of hundred books around the JFK assassination. And the more I got into it, the more complex it was. It's extremely complicated and multi-layered. And after years of studying this, I started to see that this was done on purpose, and that the way this assassination was carried out has been copied more or less following like a template, and has been used, I think, almost ever since the old Roman ways, how they carried out the political assassinations. And they've used the same template again and again and again, even though the way people have been killed can differ, then the way the whole operation was carried out and how the whole cover-up of the assassination was carried out. This follows very much like almost like a bullet point list. And the more I studied the JFK assassination, the more interested I got in the Martin Luther King, the Robert Kennedy assassination, Malcolm X, Abraham Lincoln, and so on. And after a while, like I said, I started to see like a very clear pattern of how this operation was carried out. And in the meantime, the Swedish prime minister was shot down, which was an absolute shock for the Swedish people. I mean, Sweden used to be a totally, at least that was what we've been told, totally peaceful, absolutely clean for corruption, the perfect democracy, the country that looked after the weak people in the world and took in lots of refugees and so on. So when this act of violence happened in Sweden, it was in 1986 in February, when the Swedish prime minister, he and his wife had been to the cinema this evening, and while walking home to their home in the old town of Stockholm, when they passed a street corner, there was a man standing there waiting for them, and he just walked up behind them, didn't say a word, fired 2 bullets. The prime minister went down dead on the spot, more or less, and officially the wife of the prime minister was almost hit by the other bullet. Then the man who carried it out just ran off and disappeared into oblivion.
Okay.
So once that happened, to start with, I thought that, okay, great. Awful tragedy for sure. But I felt, my God, I'm in Sweden. The police can be trusted, and so I'm sure that within a very short future, they will be able to capture the guy who did it, and everything will be done correctly and so on. I had absolutely no doubt about that. Mm-hmm. But then time started passing, and the more when the months kept passing, the more strange things started occurring around this investigation. And after a while, a year down the line or something like that, I started seeing, oh my God, it's like the same template is appearing here in Sweden as well. They're doing exactly the same things here as they did with the JFK assassination and the Robert Kennedy and so on. Now I'm talking about how they started covering the whole thing up. And I thought, this is impossible. How can these things be connected? And also when I checked out and studied the assassinations in Chile when they overtook Salvador Allende, or in South Africa with Robert Smith and so on, it was the same thing that appeared. And for me, there was an absolute shock that this could happen in Sweden. So I thought, I really need to confirm this. So I checked how the other cover-ups had been done, and that made me be able to predict what the Swedish investigation would do. So I said, if this follows the bullet point list, this will be the next thing that happens. And sure enough, within 2-3 weeks, the exact thing that I was predicting occurred in Sweden. So that really freaked me out. And I thought, oh my God, what is going on? Because in Sweden, when he was shot, Olof Palme, we were being fed with a story after a while that once again, a lone crazy guy. And the reason why these lone patsies are being used again and again and again is because when you blame one guy, since he was alone, there's no conspiracy behind it. There's no planning. There's no other people involved or ulterior motive behind it. And the reason when they always want it to be crazy is just to amplify that. There was absolutely no reason. He was crazy. He was alone. He just went up. He shot the guy. Boom. And we got him. We stuffed him away in jail and sentenced him to whatever or killed him. Mm-hmm. And poof, case closed. So that's the thing in this bullet point list where they always want this lone crazy guy. So, but by seeing that these different assassination that looks so separate, these events that looks like they have absolutely nothing in common, by seeing that they're using the same template, I started looking on this from a higher perspective, trying to see, could they by any way or possibility be connected? So I started digging into this, and this has been like a 30-year quest for the truth almost. And what I found is absolutely astounding evidence that these things are carried out, they're planned and prepared by the same power elite, and they've been carried out. Many of them have been carried out by the same small, super skilled team of assassins. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I normally do in these interviews are I describe the templates of how these operations are carried out, because once you start seeing for yourself how it's put together, then you will also see that when it comes to these mass shootings or whatever it is that they're pumping us with at the moment, you will start to see very clearly how they're carried out and how the reason why these operations are done. And every single time it is to rob normal people from their liberties more and more, to be able to control the population and totally maneuver the political agenda towards a very, very right-wing fascist direction.
I think it's good that you can do that for us. But could I ask that maybe you link that in with somebody you haven't mentioned yet, who I see on your website, and something that resonates quite strongly with us here in the UK is the Diana Spencer killing and her death. Can you show us how the template links in with her death?
That template is not so obvious in her killing. I mean, it is very clear in my point of view that she was assassinated. Mm-hmm. And the reason why she was assassinated, in my humble opinion, is not that she was going to have an Arab baby or something like that. The reason why she was taken out was that she knew too much about the secrets of the royal family in Britain, which are deeply involved in this global elite and this whole quest for global control, especially the Queen, Prince Philip. These are major players in this thing.
Right.
And also, one of the thing that really got her killed was that she was standing up and working very hard to stop the spreading of landmines. And landmines are very crucial in the agenda for this global elite when it comes to when they invade a new country. I mean, they go into a new country. Once again, we're using the patsy thing. If it's not bin Laden, it's Saddam Hussein or whoever it is, that they want to tell you that's the reason we're going in. We invaded this country because of that. But once you look into the background or you see the bigger picture, the standard is that it's a matter of drugs, oil, illegal weapons, pedophile trafficking, illegal kids trafficking and organs. These are the main ingredients. So when they go into a country, it can also be a strategic reason that they need that area to have secret air bases or landing strips when they need to transport drugs in and out and so on. So the reason they go in there, they say, okay, we go in and we're looking for this bearded guy, let's call him Saddam Hussein or whoever. They invade this country, and then with the use of landmines, they go into an area and they just fill the whole area with landmines to get rid of the local population. Because these landmines are so difficult to spot nowadays. They're manufactured in different plastic composite materials. And I'm very, very sad and ashamed to say that Sweden is one of the major producers, Sweden being a neutral country. I mean, come on, what is that? But anyway, what they use these landmines for, they go in and then they put landmines everywhere. They disguise some of the landmines as toys so that when the kids of the local population finds them, they get blown up and so on. Awful things, but that will scare off the local population and will keep them away for like 10, 15, 20 years, whatever.
Yes, because apparently it takes so long to clear them, doesn't it?
It's so difficult to clear them. It is so difficult. But the people that spread them out, they have exact maps of where all of these things are done. So they're really aimed at the local population and other, like people that they don't want to interfere, like journalists or whoever, they will have to follow very specific routes or get blown up. So people stay on these routes,
right,
and don't get too nosy. So I think that is the reason why she was taken out.
She also had a lot of knowledge of something that's quite prevalent at the moment here in the UK, which is the Savile case, Operation U-Tree, and the Royals' involvement in child trafficking and paedophilia as well, I believe.
These are some of the secrets of the royal family that I was talking about. There's a lot going on there because the Swedish or the English royal family are deeply involved in this whole global agenda. So it's almost like there are three, in my opinion, there are three centers of this. There's London and the royal family when it comes to finances. That's the financial center. Then you got Washington. That's the war center around the war center. And then you got the Vatican State, whereas the religious control center and weapons. And what happens is that between these three centers, there's a lot of interaction and a lot of very, very strange things going on between these three centers. So, but people like a beautiful person like Diana and many other people that stands up for peace, they become major targets, especially when they're somebody that lots of people listen to. Like you got Martin Luther King, you got Gandhi, you got JFK, you got Bob Marley, you got John Lennon, you got Lady Diana, and so on. People that really wants to unite the world and stands up for peace and love and understanding, all of these beautiful ethic morals. These are the ones that they want to get rid of, because when millions of people start listening to them, they have a problem. So this is why they get eliminated.
And she in particular was somebody that when she spoke, then the mass did listen. Yeah,
and the mass that was not interested in these areas otherwise, all of these millions and millions and millions of especially women that were so into Lady Diana, many of them had no interest in politics or all of these things at all. But when she started saying these things, they started listening.
Yes.
And women, especially when they find something that is unjust and so on, they will move mountains, So this was something they really wanted to avoid.
Okay, so if you want to talk us through the template now, Ole, and then we'll have a look at some of your other work as well. But talk us through the template and how it all comes together in this book and how it involves the deaths of these major figures: Robert Kennedy, JFK, etc.
If I go through, I can take one template first, then I can go through the hit team, and we can go through another template if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll choose first. There's like two standard templates they use: one for assassinations, one for terror acts. And let's start with the terror one, because that is at the moment the trend nowadays is in the States is mass shootings. These it goes in different trends depending on what it is they want to accomplish. So this template, it's an old Roman tactic that's been, like I say, it's been used since thousands of years, and it's like a three-step rocket. It's problem, reaction, solution. Problem, reaction, solution. This is the secret ingredients in the whole thing. Do you know, like if you look at, for instance, when Chile had a military coup, and the Pinochet came in with his officers and his army, and just overnight killed and took out the whole government. They killed the old president, Salvador Allende, and so on. They took over, and they were backed up by the CIA and so on. But what happened was that in a very short time, they got into a position of power. They just overtook the whole country, and poof, that was it. Great. But it wasn't that great, because what happened was that the next morning when people woke up, they suddenly saw that, oh my God, our country has been overtaken by militaries. So from that point on, the new regime started having massive problems with uprisings, with demonstrations, so they started doing mass arrests. They filled the jails. They filled like football stadiums. They had to start to torture lots of people and kill them and so on, to get them to reveal where the other enemies of this new government were hiding and so on. So in the end, it turned out that they almost needed as many soldiers in the street as there was people in the population. So very, very messy. Also, the problem with sanctions, financial sanctions from other countries that were just making blockages, financial, I don't know what you call that, blockage, I think, and so on. So they had massive problems with that. Not the way to go. Okay. The clever way to do it, and which they're doing on a repeatedly basis. You will see this very, very common nowadays. It's happening very often, is that they secretly create a problem to get a reaction from the population so that they can come with a solution. Problem, reaction, solution, the three main ingredients. So for instance, if we take, let's say the UK, or let's say Ireland or something like that. If I want the police on Ireland to be able to walk around with bazookas, have drones that can kill people just from mobile phones, that I want to be able to kick in doors without having to, without a warrant. I want to be able to put people in jail for the rest of their life without no court case or lawyers or anything like that. If I just push that, let's say that I was the one in power in Ireland, and these people we're talking about, the people in power, they are all, I would say nowadays, they're all connected through groups like the Bilderberg Group, the Council on Foreign Relations, and the Trilateral Commissions. These three groups are one of the major power pieces in this global elite puzzle. So you will see, so I'm like, let me say that I'm the Prime Minister of Ireland, I'm the one ruling there, and I'm a Bilderberg as well. So what I would do, if I just forced that agenda on the population, I would have the same problems that they had in Chile. I would have uprisings, demonstrations, violent protests, all of these things. So what I do instead is I secretly place a bomb. Okay. Bombs or mass shootings, these are the two nowadays, but bombs, let's take bomb. So I secretly place a bomb, and what I do is, it's very important where this bomb is placed. It needs to be placed in a public place where there's a lot of people moving around to and from work, so that the more central it is, the more people will feel affected by it. It would be like, oh my God, it could have been me. Oh my God, it could have been my wife or sister or children or whatever. So I place it very centrally. It doesn't work with old people's home or out in an industrial area or something like that. No, it needs to be very central, spot on, like the 7/7 bombings, right in the subways or something like that. And what I do in the same time as I'm preparing the bomb, I'm preparing a patsy. This can be somebody in this, and during the Cold War, it was Russians or East Germans.
Yeah.
Then the trend after the Cold War, they changed the trend, so they went for the Muslims because they work really well in media. They got big dark eyebrows and big mustache. Their name is Mustafa Al-Bahol or something like that. And they come from a country where most people have no idea where it's even located, you know. So these have been the perfect boogeymen because they look scary. You don't really understand the background. And also we've been pumped from the same group for years and years and years that Islam equals terrorism, that if you are a Muslim, that equals you are a terrorist. Yeah. This is pumped into our subconscious. So nowadays it is true for most of the population. I would say it's an absolute lie that Islam equals terrorism. Absolutely not true. I would say all of these 30 years of investigation, I've been every single time that's been blamed on a Muslim or whoever. Instead, the trail has gone straight back to the same power elite and carried out by their troops, by their people. And if it's not, I mean, sometimes the patsy is a Muslim and so on, but what has happened is that they trained him, they prepared him, they equipped him with bombs, all of these things, they tricked this person into the position where he could be set up as a patsy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so nowadays the trend has gone from Muslims, because that's a bit worn out now, it doesn't work so well. So now they go for that it can be anyone. He can look like a computer geek, or he can be a yogi, or now they're starting to aim at truth seekers or peacemakers or these type of things. So people like myself and you are the future terrorists. They're really trying to push it that way.
Yes.
Anything. So they use that to as well as creating a patsy, also to get rid of some group that they have problem with or some individual.
Yeah, well, I mean, I pointed out recently that in the UK through the 70s and 80s, that whenever there was a terrorist incident, it was always somebody with an Irish accent.
Yeah, but there you go.
Terrorism was the IRA, or the real IRA, or the provisional IRA. It was somebody with an Irish accent. And then slowly through the 90s, we became acclimatized to the fact that, well, now a terrorist is, as you say, somebody with brown skin, a beard, you know, and has these weird religious views.
I know.
You know, so yes, there has been this motive, this motive. There's always been this group, as you say, that, and unfortunately, some members of the Islamic faith have swallowed that hook, line, and sinker and become very, very extreme.
Well, there you go. But also, you need to see these extreme people, check them out, really check them out, because quite a few of them are positioned there as shit stirrers. Do you know what I mean? To create conflict, to amplify this thing. And many times they're financed by the same group. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
So you need to be very carefully to swallow these things. Also see who is pumping it to you. You know, like who are making these interviews. You come to the same media that is controlled in a certain way by the same power. So I think you have to be very aware of, you know, and like almost have a filter when it comes to looking at normal news and so on, because that is part of the whole thing of pumping you with false information.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, so you prepare the patsy, you prepare evidence so that when this bomb goes off, boom, the evidence will straight away start pointing towards this patsy. And nowadays they're doing it in such a ridiculous way. I mean, these hits, they used to have a really, you know, a substantial budget, well planning, skilled people and so on, but now it's just getting so sloppy. And it's like they're doing it, almost treating us as brain dead individuals, so that it's, you know, they make it so obvious, like with the 9/11, for instance, like that, with the rental cars, where the so-called hijackers had rented. What they left in the car was a manual, a video of how to fly a 757. I mean, like a video would make you possible for you to take over and fly and do turns with this plane that absolutely no other pilots has ever been able to do without the plane crashing. But thanks to this video, and then also they added a little Quran, that great little touch, and also like a suicide note of people that was very happy and seen, and they were extreme Islamists, it was said, but they were seen in nightclubs getting really drunk the weeks before.
And don't forget the flame-proof passports.
Exactly. and the thing was, it wasn't an international flight, so why did he even bring a passport? And then these type of things, that nothing left of the plane, nothing left of the building except all of this massive dust cloud, and then a pristine passport.
Yeah.
You see, and in one of the other planes that went down, a red and white bandana. I mean, should we try and make it a little more obvious? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
This is the thing. It's on a ridiculous no-brain level. Anyway, so I prepare that type of evidence so that there would be absolutely no doubt that it's what did I say? The truth seekers, the yogis, the green parrot, militant lovers, whatever you want to call them. They also, what they do the weeks up until the bomb goes off, they start leaking out in media that this group is weird. They have secret meetings, and on Thursday they meet for coffee and drink, and they have a leader, and this leader says, we have to stop this. So maybe they're preparing something, and maybe they even have the hidden guns underneath. So they leak that out in media. There's like a little thing here, a little thing there, a little, documentary, 5-minute documentary about this group, or strange things that are going on, so that the subconscious of the population start preparing, saying, that's a weird group. So that when the actual hit is done, you will be prepared. Oh my God, yeah, I know, I heard of this group. So it all makes sense. Okay, so you have placed the bomb, and the way they place the bombs nowadays is that they almost always have a drill going on at the same time, and this drill is identical to the event that actually happens. So that it's a drill, but halfway through it suddenly goes live, and many times the people who are involved in the drill, like on 7/7, they have absolutely no idea what's going on. So suddenly, boom, the bomb goes off and people are blown up, and like at the 7/7 thing, the police were standing around saying, oh my God, it looks so realistic. I mean, these people, it really looks like they're dying. So they didn't even help them because they thought it's a staged thing.
Yeah.
So there's this drill, and the reason for the drill, one of the reasons is to get the bombs in place so that people will not take any notice. And also, when you prepare these drills, you have people in uniform. As soon as people are in uniform, they go without identity. People just see them as a police officer, a fireman, or whatever it is, but you don't really notice their features and so on.
Yes.
So they disappear, or put an overall on a person and he goes anonymous. So they get the bombs, they get everything in place with these drills, including sometimes they get the patsy they get him in place during the drill. He thinks that he's part of a drill or a film shoot or whatever, but the real reason is to get him in position so that he can be blamed. Okay, so I prepare the patsy, I prepare the evidence, the bomb is placed. At the same time, what I do is I prepare my own investigation. This is crucial, that I'm the one in control. I have my own investigation on standby, and this consists of people where, especially the one in key positions, are my people. So as soon as the bomb goes off, my investigation will move in and kick out all normal, decent, honest police officers, detectives. All of these people are pushed to the side, and my people move in. And this investigation, the only task they have is to avoid the real truth and to cover it up and stop people like myself, stop real witnesses, neglect them, terrorize them, anything except the official story. It was
Yeah.
the patsy, it was the patsy, it was the patsy, it was the patsy. That's their task. So I got everything set. And what I also do is when this thing happens, when this is about to happen, I block radio communication. I block. You will see mobile phones suddenly they stop working right when these things happens for about half an hour until I've got everything in control so that I can control as much as possible when it comes to the official story. It's getting a lot trickier nowadays with YouTube and internet and so on. But this is they used to just totally block everything, and they said afterwards that it was because the telephone lines were just it's blocked because there's so many people trying to call at the same time. Absolute not true.
Yeah. I mean, they're using that as a tactic in situations which aren't planned to be these big events. I was at the recent November the 5th event in London, the Million Mask March, and all our mobile phones were suddenly stopped working in Westminster Square. So this lack of communication, this inability to get communications out, is being used more and more. So, but yes, the communications are like you say, are becoming so more readily available, and the citizen journalist, it's not a term that I like, but the citizen journalist, is obviously becoming, discredited by the mainstream as well. They're looked down upon, and that's done on purpose, obviously.
Of course. But nowadays we have to look for the real truth, not from main media, because it will not come from that way. It is up to us to take the responsibility and take the personal power back by not buying into what we're being fed, but by awaken and learn and inform ourselves about what's going on.
Yes.
So I think this is an amazing time to be alive, because there's such an awakening going on, and this is also why these operations are getting very, very. They're doing so many at the same time, because I think they're getting freaked out of this awakening, but also that's the reason why it's getting so sloppy nowadays. It's really like under all criticism. I'm really sloppy, but great for someone like me, because it's so much easier to see right away. But let's go back to the thing. So I got my investigation in place, on standby. I got the patsy prepared. I got the bomb in place, and evidence is prepared, and all of this. So the thing is that the timing on when this bomb goes off is really important as well. They never do it midnight during the night. They never do it late at night either. It's most of the time early in the morning, when people are too on their way to school or to their jobs or something like that, and they haven't really woken up yet. So they're still, because it's a matter of getting the emotional impact. That's the thing. They want the emotional impact from the population. So let's say 8:15, 8:30, something like that, maybe 9 o'clock, and boom, off goes the bomb. And what is crucial as well is that the key thing here we're talking about is women and children. We're talking about to get the emotional impact, you need to target women and children.
Yes.
It doesn't work with old people's home or war veterans. Now they're targeting war veterans as well to get the national theme going, you know.
Everybody becomes patriotic, don't they?
Yeah, that's the one. Let's get patriotic, you know. And so they use that one as well. But women and children, so you will often see that it's targeted where there's some kind of daycare center or school, or like nuns, sometimes they like that as well, or nurses, or these type of thing. But if the building has offices with, like if it's in the state with the DIA or FBI or something, like, you will find that these offices have been empty. They're always empty when these things go off. So there's no agents hurt, or it's just innocent, normal people.
Yeah.
Okay, so boom, the bomb has gone off. What happens then is that media starts pumping out all these horrific images of blown up people to create, that was the problem, to create the reaction from people saying, oh my God, something needs to be done. And then they turn towards me, who secretly created the problem, saying, please save us. We elected you. You have to do something. You have to do something. And then I say, well, I can't deal with these awful, brutal truth seekers or yogis or whatever they were. But the only way to deal with them is by a very militant police with bazookas, drones, bombs, whatever. And I'm very sorry, but I need to take away all the possibilities of people having a lawyer or a fair trial, all of these things. And the population will just say, yes, do it, do it, do it. Yeah. Not knowing that they're saying, please handcuff me even more. So what I'm doing then, as me being in control, I'm moving all my tanks and whatever in the streets. You got all these robot cops and even 50 times more surveillance cameras. That works perfectly when it comes to controlling the population, but they're always out of function when it comes to these hits. Yeah. I mean, even when Pentagon was hit, it's the most guarded building in the whole world. All of the cameras were shut off, or the films was taken by the FBI. I mean, go figure.
Yeah, I'll accept that one on that gate barrier.
It's the same again, yeah. Like Lady Diana, 14 cameras, all of them. Oh, we're so sorry they were being renovated this evening. Same story again and again and again. Everything shut down, do the kill, turn them off again. Yep. Okay, so we pump all of this, get the reaction. I move in, and what I do is I get all of this military force into the streets. I kick in doors. I grab whoever I blamed. Sometimes they get shot or slaughtered or put in jail or shot in the throat so they can't speak and give evidence or anything, something like that. Mm-hmm. Because their main task is to get this case closed as soon as possible so that people don't dig into it.
Boston bombing,
I'm talking about a template. It can be, you will see this repeated again and again and again. So, but also, I have a team that goes in, a technical team. They look professional police investigators. They go in and they're looking for evidence. What they're doing actually is they're clearing the site for real evidence pointing towards me, and they place the material, the false evidence pointing towards the patsy. Mm. Then the investigation also, the first thing they do is to to focus on media. And what they will say is, oh, it's so awful, it's so awful, it's so awful, this has happened, but it's the patsy, it's the patsy, it's the patsy. And then that is more or less how they carry it out. But then if people keep saying, but come on, this is ridiculous. I mean, you didn't really look into the evidence. You haven't spoken to the witnesses. Everybody has been neglected or threatened. What is going on? You need to do a proper job. If the population or certain journalists or whoever keeps pushing this question, mm-hmm. it comes to a point where they will say, okay, fine. What we'll do is we'll put a commission. They will appoint a commission that will look into this. And they give them really fancy names like the Truth Commission or the Freedom Commission or the Act of Liberation Commission, whatever, you know, something that sounds really good. But their job is what they do is they look into the investigation, not the crime itself. They look into the investigation, and then they spend about a year just having lots of meetings where I'm sure they're throwing darts and smoking cigars in the background because it's always with closed doors, no insight. They're sitting getting drunk and they're doing absolute sod all. Yeah. And then also sometimes they create scandals within the commission that will delay it for even more months because then they need to appoint a new person, then need to involve him. And so they drag it out while getting tons of absolute useless information written down on documents that says absolutely nothing. And the result of this commission the standard thing is that they will look at the investigation and say, Well, they really tried, but they didn't really accomplish what they was put there to do. But we have done a great job. But what can we do? End of story.
Yeah, and it's cost
Then
millions or billions, and
millions and
yeah,
billions.
yeah,
And then if people keep pushing and say, "But come on, this is ridiculous. You had to do a proper job. Who did this?" Because it's very apparent for anyone else that it was not the patsy. Something took place there that nobody knows about. If that continues, then they will appoint a second commission, and the second commission will look at the first commission, not at the crime or not at the investigation. It would look at the first commission, and then they will spend another year, and there will be lots of writings, articles in the newspapers saying absolute baloney, empty words, empty words, empty. So in the end, the population is so fed up and have totally forgot the crime, what actually happened. They're so distracted away from what actually happened by all of these articles in the newspapers and all of these whatever. And then it will slowly fade out, and in the end, nobody will bother anymore.
hmm
And this is part of the template. It's very important to understand that these commissions are part of the crime itself. They're not there to find the truth. They're there to distract you. And that was template number one.
template number one. And you can, I mean, you're right. You can start to see the connections, the similarities between so many, which is why I mentioned the Boston bombing, which was so like 7/7, which was so like 9/11, which was so like any number of other events that you can pull out of history.
There you go. This has been used over and over. You will see it from before the Second World War, how they got the Vietnam War going.
Yeah.
With a fake attack on Lusitania. They've just been ongoing, and we're buying it. This is the whole thing. They can carry on like this because we have been so asleep, not getting it.
And this is why, the reason why the vast majority, why the mass are not getting it, is because there are so many other distractions. There are so many other more important things in people's lives these days.
By design, I would say, because they really try to get you away from that, So now, if you compare TV today and 20 years ago, they were like documentaries and things that really trying to sort of educate people. Now it's a matter of what did Britney Spears have for breakfast, and X Factor and sports. I'm not against sports, but I'm just saying at the same time it's numbing down the brain.
Yeah, it's being used, isn't it? It's a good thing that's been subverted.
Exactly. So now you're more focused on this football player's knee injury than your life being stolen away from underneath you.
Yeah. I just, if we can just sidetrack just ever so slightly about sport, because I'm not a big sportsman myself, but I was recently in Liverpool, and I had reason to, we were going to go and speak to a group of new journalists from Liverpool. And, I drove past Anfield Football Ground expecting it to be a place which radiated the wealth that is obviously contained within those walls. And driving through that area which surrounded that football club was an absolute shocker and an eye-opener, because it's the first time I've been to that area. But to see the boarded up houses, the waste in the streets, the stores all closed, boarded up, it was absolute. It was austerity. It's whatever you think of an area in austerity, and the area around that football ground is that image. Now, to see that and to see the wealth that those 11 players, or 11 or 12 players, whatever it is, that run around on that field every week, to see the state of the community around it was absolutely appalling. So seeing the money that's been pumped into sport to ensure that so many millions become hooked on it and aren't interested in anything else, that it even appeared that the people that still lived around that area were more interested in the fact of, well, there's our glorious football ground, rather than look at the state of our community.
I think what you're describing is a very symbolic image of the global elite and the rest of us, how we're being robbed and not understanding who is robbing us, and also not understanding. Normal people say, oh, it's a crisis, all of these things, where it's like it's something that has just miraculously happened out of nothing, not understanding that there's a very specific design and plan behind the whole thing. And that it's rape and plunder, but people do not see it's going on. The same way as the population around this football arena even feel that they're very proud of what has happened, instead of seeing, my God, what actually happened.
Yes. Okay, so template number 2.
Okay, template number 2. Okay, this was the bomb one. That could be, it can also be a financial bomb. Sometimes they take out countries like that with the help of some of the real tools they use is the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Crucial in these things. They really, when we talk about rape and plunder, these are the two institutions that can really do it to countries.
Yeah.
But back to the template number 2. Like this was about a bomb. It could have just as well be a mass shooting nowadays. And one of the ways you can see that there is a conspiracy very clearly is what happens right after it. Because very shortly after an event like this, you will see what it is they're trying to accomplish. When it comes to mass shootings, the reason why they happen in the States is because that's where the weapons is, and this global elite is trying to make the weapons be the problem, not that people are totally brain dead who uses them. And that's not it. It's the weapons. So and this is the only population in the world that are armed. Yeah. So by having these mass shootings, they point and say, it's the weapons that's the problem. If we get rid of the weapons, that will solve the problem. So they're pumping this out. And I'm absolutely not a pro-violence person. On the contrary, I'm totally for the Martin Luther King way, the Mahatma Gandhi way. At the same time, if the population gives over their guns, I'm not saying they should use them, but give over their guns, the country will be taken over like this. Boom. Yeah. If you study history, the people who have asked for the same things to de-arm the population are people like Stalin, Hitler, Mao, these type of people. Now it's the Obama regime, and you will see that they follow the exact same rules, the same agenda. I would even say that when you study the agenda of the New World Order, what they're actually talking about is creating the Fourth Reich, like a global fascist state with one global army, one digital currency, the population with microchip, and everything just super controlled. The army against the population, to control the population, not to defend it. Yes. And then you have a small little elite, super wealthy, and the rest of us like a slave, slaves to. And also, one of the not very nice thing is that this elite, according to the agenda, who's been leaking out many times, is that they would also very much like to have fewer of us around. Yes. So through vaccines and chemtrails and food and all of these things, there's a lot of attacks going on from all kinds of direction on normal, innocent people at the moment.
And some of them are very subtle, because I was talking recently about Kissinger's Memorandum 200 and how the long view is taken by these groups and by these elite that, well, okay, we'll start it now, 1974, let's write this memorandum which says that we have to control populations, but a lot of it doesn't get instigated until 20, 30 years down the line. And here we are in a situation now where, hey, it's okay, we can kill babies anytime we want, in the name of choice and these liberal feelings of, well, women have to have the choice, and it got me into a big argument and a big rant last week. But yes, these policies are put in place very early on.
These are one of the tactics they use. It's called stepping stones. They move forward a little out to the left, then they move a little out to the right,
That's right.
Then a little in the middle, then a little out to the, so that you don't notice that these things are connected. And so that in the old days, they moved very subtly, very, you didn't really notice. Now they speeded it up a lot, I think, due to the awakening that's going on. So now it's just becoming very, very obvious once you start seeing it, that they're moving forward full speed ahead. And this is also why these all of these mass shootings, and they're just like one a week nowadays, just like boom, 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 boom. I think also for you not to be able to focus and try to really find out what happened in Sandy Hook or Boston and so on, because there's a new one every single week.
That's right. And these events, they fill our headlines. They fill it for a few days, maybe a week or two, and then it's gone. And then it's, right, we need to move on to something else now. And, this is even more terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
this totalitarian tiptoe, as others have described it, and I just think about something as simple as road traffic cameras, speed cameras here in the UK. A couple of decades ago, we didn't have cameras anywhere, and now we're just absolutely swarming with them. Thousands and thousands of cameras. And, when people start to realize that every move they make is being monitored, and if all these cameras have been implemented in the space of a week, there would have been uproar.
Yeah.
But here we are. We've allowed this to happen. And this is something that I keep pointing out, that they will only go as far as we allow them to go.
This is the crazy thing about the whole, because this elite, they're only a few thousand, and we're 7 billion, and we're letting them get away with it. It's an absolute joke.
Yeah.
It's an absolute joke. And we're even helping them by controlling each other.
And paying for it as well.
And paying for it. It's like absolute madness when you look at it. It's absolute madness. And this is why an awakening is so important, that people start to see, whoa, wait a second. I'm not the next mass shooting or the next bomb that goes off, let's not buy into it right away. Let's just check out the proof, what actually happened, and see also, like I said, the way you can see that there's a conspiracy behind it is like within minutes after it happens, they will say, let's start the war on terror, or let's go for Saddam Hussein, or let's go for the weapons, or let's go for this or that and that. So it will be pumped out to you through media what it is they want to accomplish. Yeah. So, and every single time it's against the population. That I can guarantee you, and it will be paid by the population and the taxpayers. So.
Now, it's a lot of things that you've talked about, and a lot of things that you've had on your website, which is lightonconspiracies.com, resonates with me. And if I just let you know that my history is such that for nearly 20 years I was a police officer, and I was in the Royal Air Force as a policeman. And in 2010, I was medically discharged because I'd seen and done things in the Gulf, which had such a dramatic effect on me, such a massive impact on me, that I couldn't do the job anymore. And it was in 2010 also. The 2010 seems to have been quite a critical moment for me, because it was then that I I had my eyes open to various health issues and things that were going into our food. And I think specifically of aspartame. And it was that little spark which then led me on to asking more questions, which then led me on to, well, I need to do something about this. I can't just sit and ask these questions. I need to do something about it as well. So I became a journalist and followed the national route, and I'm a member of the NUJ, which has opened up a whole wealth of paths to me. But something that you've spoken about in the past was a message to police, and I wonder if you'd be able to talk to me as a former police officer who's now realized what's going on, and talk to the police officers and the military people that will be listening to this, that need to just take a step back from what they are doing on their day-to-day lives.
Listen, Alan, first of all, I want to salute you for this step. I did not know your background. I think what you are what do you call it, an example of is exactly what is necessary to happen. Because, like I said, we are doing it to ourselves. And one of the ways we're doing it to ourselves are through people in uniform. Mm-hmm. People in uniform are crucial when it comes to controlling the population, because this global elite are mostly old guys in nice suits and so on, but they control high technology. But it's the people in uniform that are used as the real weapons against the population. And people in uniform are most of the time not aware of it at all.
No. I can tell you, as somebody who was in uniform, I had absolutely no idea.
So what I would like to say, and I thank you for having the possibility to do this, if I can speak directly to people in uniform in UK, other countries, the States, wherever you are, please, 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 from the bottom of my heart, I ask you, educate yourself. Find out whose agenda you are serving. You are being totally duped. You are being used as enforcers of an agenda that has nothing to do with your life. It is an agenda that is set for death and destruction and control of millions of people. You are kept in the dark because they do not want you to understand that you are part of a much bigger machine. You are being told that you're doing a great job, that you're doing a fantastic thing for society by controlling the population, by making sure that they follow all these rules that are being pushed upon you and the rest of the population. I would say, please inform yourself, because what we're talking about is not only your future or my future, it's the children, your grandchildren. If nothing happens, if this global elite gets away with what they're pushing forward, and they are pushing big time, you are looking upon a world that is beyond description, a dark, violent, very controlled, awful place. Instead of this beautiful, beautiful, wonderful world that we have been born into, where love is supposed to be, compassion, all of these beautiful things, total balance in nature, all of these things, everything is designed to do that. And then this global elite, like an awful school bully, are just terrorizing the whole neighborhood, and we are letting them get away with it. And you, the people in uniform, you are the one defending them. You are the one standing outside them at the gates, controlling that we, the normal people, cannot be allowed to evolve the way we are supposed to evolve into a beautiful, beautiful race. So I would say, people in uniform, I am not here to point fingers. I too have been allowing this to go on for a long time. But the next time, your task is to defend the population, not terrorize. It doesn't matter if you're a SWAT team or a soldier or a police officer. There's absolutely no honor whatsoever in doing that. The honor is to do your job, which is to take care of your fellow human beings, to carry out your duty, which is to defend the population against enemies from the outside. In this case, you have to figure out who the real enemies are and to wake up so that you can do your job properly, with honor, with grace, with dignity. But when somebody gives you an order, it's so important to understand that it is your responsibility, just like Alan and other of his colleagues have been part of doing things in other countries that are awful. I'm sure when you mentioned your experiences, I'm sure you've been seeing things that are absolutely horrendous. These orders are given by a small group of people that when you look at it, they're totally mad. It's absolute madness what's going on in the world at the moment. You have to stop. And when somebody gives you an order, you have to see that it is my responsibility for whatever I do. If I pull the trigger against somebody that is innocent, I have to live with that. It is blood on my hands. It is karma that is created in my life. Bad karma, not good at all. So please inform yourself. And I say, when it comes to soldiers, it's even more tragic, because most soldiers that I know, they pick them when they're really young, and they think they're going in to defend freedom and liberty and all of these things, and they will get medals and be treated like heroes. You are being used as trained killers. And the reason why you're sent off to countries like, you name it, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, wherever, the reasons are always the same. It is absolute greed and corruption that is behind it, but not your greed, their greed. And they don't even care about you. You are an empty uniform. As soon as you're not useful for them, they will just get rid of you. Doesn't matter even if you're a general or whatever. If you start standing up for what is right and against their agenda, they will just get rid of you. So the sooner the better. Wake up, see what's going on, and take a stand. I know it's scary. I know that you might lose whatever, and you have your mortgage to think of and your family. I would turn it around and say, think about your family, think about your future, but do it in the right way, not their way. That is a way going straight into awful, a very, very dark future. Do it the right way. Stand up for what is right. Be courageous. It's especially the first ones that are the hardest one for them to do, like brave men like Alan and so on. They have taken the step. They have been able to take the stand and stand up and say, I am not going to fight you. I'm going to expose you. I'm going to stand up for what is right and truth. And I'm going to stand here in honor and spread love, not fear, spread love and compassion to the rest of my fellow human beings. So please inform yourself.
Ole Dammegard, that's perfect. Thank you. If you'd just like to speak briefly about the work that you've got coming up in the future and the way that people can get involved and help out with your book, Coup d'etat in Slow Motion, visiting your website, lightonconspiracies.com, and speak about how they can donate, etc.
I can only say that 30 years of my life has been devoted to this. I've lost friends. I had to leave my country, my home country, and so on. I'm on my knees financially because this is so hard to do when you have a family to feed as well. And to really get into details with these things, it takes a lot of research and a lot of effort and so on. So if anyone would like to help, I'm so grateful for donations. that can be sent through my website, lightonconspiracies.com. Also, if people want to sign up to my newsletter, that is also an immense help for me to keep going. I am going to do it anyway. I'm going to stand frontline. I'm going to do this to the day I stop breathing, or, well, I'm not backing off.
No.
So I will do it anyway. But if you want to support me, I would be extremely helpful. My book is called Coup d'etat in Slow Motion. It's about the assassination of Olof Palme, but also it's showing this whole network including illegal arms trading and into the different assassinations, how they were carried out and so on. So I tried to get it published for 30 years. I just signed a publishing contract here a few months ago in the States. And then it was cancelled because of what is called technical problems. Uh-huh. So it's like not easy. So, well, there you go. You can only laugh, can't you?
Yeah.
Technical problems. That's a great one. So anyway, I would very much like, if it's okay with you, Alan, to finish with a little prayer.
Please do.
I'm not a religious person. I see myself as a spiritual person, and I have this beautiful, beautiful Raja Yoga teacher. Her name is Nalini Chelaran, and she always finishes with this beautiful prayer. And it goes like this: May the entire universe be filled with peace and joy, love and light. May everyone, and especially the ones who hurt us, be filled with peace and joy, love and light. Victory to that light. I truly believe in this, because it's only when people who are so absorbed by greed and violence and all of these dark, dark forces, it's only when they start waking up and seeing that the way they are going, they will never feel complete. They can never fill this dark hole inside them if it doesn't come from love and from compassion and these things. It's only when they start getting an understanding of this that they will stop this absolute madness that they're doing at the moment. So in one way, they're beautiful teachers. I wouldn't say beautiful. They are very efficient teachers for us to show a way of not do and to wake up. This is a major wake-up call. This is not a time to pick your nose and change the channel. This is a time for you to say, whoop, enough is enough. I have my beautiful family and children to take care of. And the way to stand up is to raise your energy. One of the ways they control us is to push us down all the time, push us down with fear through media, through TV and so on. So I would suggest, turn off the box. Turn it off. It is there to push you down. So turn it off. Look around. See, my God, I got a family. I got a beautiful wife. Maybe we can even start talking to each other. Go out, hug a tree, hug a neighbor, hug a policeman, whatever. The more you lift the energy, you lift it, the stronger you get. And by helping others, instead of focusing on your own problems, by helping others, you feel good, you raise your energy, they feel good, they raise their energy. People who see you do it, they raise their energy and see, wow. And so by living by example, not going out there and spread a lot of information that will just drag people down, because this is such a dark area to go into. Believe you me, I've been spending 30 years in these dark corridors, and that is not the solution, to just spread down, depression, doomsday. That is not the way to go. Go in there, raise your energy by feeling gratitude for all of these beautiful things you have in life. Feel compassion for and embrace each other. That is the way to lift it, and then live by example, showing that I can stand and still be positive, still be happy, still be full of energy, even though, if you look at it, I should be the one that be hanging from the roof. I'm spending 30 years. I know more than anyone else I know about these awful things, but I try to turn it around and go in there. That's why my website is called Light on Conspiracies as well. Go in there in these dark corridors and fill it with light, expose it, and then it will go away. But we had to do the work. We had to be brave. We had to stand up, and we had to focus on the positive. So feel gratitude. Fill your heart with gratitude, empathy, forgiveness. Embrace your family and friends, and let's solve this together. It's wakey time now.
Ole Dammegard, thank you.
Thank you, Alan. It's been an absolute honor to be on your show.